Hi, my name is Heather Peabody, and I'm an occupational therapist from Nashua, New Hampshire. My company is Vital Spark LLC, and website is www.thedementiaspecialist.com. This is video 3 in the series of Caregiver Aspects, Expectations with Dementia. We've already covered the first 3 stages of cognitive decline: normal, age-associated memory loss, and mild cognitive impairment. This episode is about early stage dementia, which is level 4 of global deterioration, according to Risberg, Ferris, and Cook. The theory being that clients who have a cognitive disorder such as dementia, where you see a chronic and progressive cognitive decline, clients will lose skills in the reverse order that they developed them, and those skills decline in milestones, such as the opposite way that we learn them as children. And there are kind of age equivalents for each stage that your client goes through, but just know that these age equivalents are not to say that we should be talking to our clients like children. They are adults and should never be treated like second-class citizens. Only by understanding these developmental milestones, we can teach clients within their level of capability and communicate in a way that they can best understand. So with early stage, this is level 4 of global deterioration, moderate cognitive impairment, or early stage dementia. If a client was diagnosed with early stage dementia, we see some typical clinical characteristics, mostly the concentration deficit. So if you're asking your client to do some higher level math problems, we would see lots of math errors, even with just some moderately challenging subtraction questions, like please subtract 40 by taking away 4 at a time, continue to take away 4, take away 4, take away 4. You may see some mistakes or starting all over again. Many clients, the diagnosis might happen after being given a test like Risberg's test, the brief cognitive rating scale, or you give your client one of the clock tests, and we start to see, if you ask your client what time it is, even though they know the day, the date, the month, they may be off by more than 2 hours as to what the time is. Sometimes with these clock tests, which are very accurate, even if you're a naive reader and never were trained on how to administer it, we might see that the client wasn't able to plug the numbers on the clock, or they number it in a different direction. So we start to see some symbolic reasoning difficulties, and some of the assessments like the mini mental status examination, a lot of doctors use that. They might ask the client to draw 2 overlapping pentagons, and if the client has a difficulty doing that, these are all indicative of a possible organic dysfunction to the brain. A diagnosis shouldn't be made, just by seeing how people perform on a test. There could be any number of reasons why someone's having trouble attending and focusing and remembering. So oftentimes this diagnosis coincides with, blood work, brain scans, and just a battery to rule out all potential conditions that could be causing this. But with early stage dementia, we typically see they may be alert and they have a good orientation to date, day of the week, but they are off by the time. We do see some concentration deficits with math, and they may get really frustrated if you try to challenge them outside of their routine. We see at this stage, we might be kind of leveling down our performance throughout the day and act like someone who's at early stage. We all have routines, or else we'd never get anything done. But if you talk to someone who has early stage dementia, they do start to have kind of a vague understanding of what's going on. I get clients who come to the hospital and we didn't know they had dementia, but when I start to talk to the client, I say, so why did you come to the hospital? And the client is at a loss. They don't know why they're here. They don't know what the medical problems are. They don't know any special medical precautions, and it's like they missed all of that. And most clients who don't have dementia would know basically the complaints that brought them to the hospital, basic medical concerns, maybe basic ideas of the medical procedures that they had to resolve the issues. But with dementia, they're really not able to tell you a lot of why they're there. Maybe they could spout out some of the traumatic things that would lead them to come to the hospital, like a car accident or a fall or an injury, and maybe they could talk about those particular events, but they may not be able to articulate what's happened over the past week before they came to me. Also, some things start to happen at early stage, like my client may ask a question, and then a few minutes later, they ask the same question, or I find that I have to repeat instructions and directions more frequently to the client than I would to other clients. And, these are very low-level losses, and a client could go back to work with this level of capability as long as we decrease their job expectations. Hey, Heather, maybe you shouldn't be the lead surgeon of your medical team. Maybe you could be just a consultant. Don't give me all of that responsibility, because your brain is like an accordion. Sometimes it has room for lots of processing and very little. And even though I was able to get moderate cognitive impairment scores on a cognitive test, I may not be functioning at my highest engine level all day long. Leave room for my brain to relax. Decrease some of these expectations. Start to talk to me at early stage about getting some help at home. Reisberg had some age equivalents that he talked about the stages, and really the literature is saying someone that is at a early stage dementia could, there's an equivalent of a 7 to 10-year-old, and I really disagree. I think it's more like an 18-year-old. People at early stage could live home alone. They can cook for themselves. They can self-medicate. It just takes a while to learn those skills. I might have to give my client a med box. I may have to pre-sort their medication. I may have to tell them about their precautions a couple of times before they learn it. For example, I have clients at early stage dementia that come to the hospital because maybe this person broke their hip, and they may have surgery, have their pins put in their hip, or a hip replacement, and the orthopedic doctor says, well, they shouldn't put so much weight on their foot. They shouldn't bend too far forward while they're healing. And my client with dementia might forget those things, and through repeating those precautions every day and practicing them with my client, they do learn it, as long as I just keep repeating the way it should be every day. So practice a good routine, get the skills, they can go home. And at early stage dementia, what you have is awareness of awareness. The client knows that they have dementia. They know that they're having memory issues. And it's a very difficult time in dementia because the client has to deal with grieving the loss of their brain, loss of their function, and it's very important that the client gets to go to a support group, has someone to talk to, someone to vent to, and it might be several times a day that they need to call someone to express their feelings. Adult daycare is a wonderful place for clients to go if they're not working anymore, to engage in activities throughout the day, keep busy, interact with peers, and exercise, which is the best way to prevent cognitive decline. And since the client does have awareness of awareness, this would be the perfect time to talk to the client about what are your long-term plans and expectations. Who do you want to manage your finances when you can no longer do that for yourself? What do you want for your medical and end-of-life requests? Do you want to be resuscitated? Would you ever want to have a G-tube put in? Do you want to be tube-fed if you forget how to eat or drink? Who do you want to become your medical power of attorney and make those decisions for you? When's the time to say that we're not going to have you drive anymore? And, when could we get you to go to therapeutic driving to just see how you're doing? And it sounds hard. It sounds like a terrible conversation to have with a person, and you may be walking on eggshells about it, but I am telling you, when I talk to my client, I say, listen, you really want to talk about what your choices are, because if your memory goes away and you don't know what's going on, your family will have to make these choices for you, and money choices and medical choices, these are the choices that break up families. And if we at least know what you want, we have a will, we have a way, and that's really key. And also in early stage dementia, we want to talk about, protecting their money and their assets. I think the government has kind of a say on your equity. If the government is paying for your medical benefits, they can take out of your estate if within the past 5 years you've had a house, and if the plan is to entail estate or hand down an estate to family, it's better to do that earlier rather than later, so that it's not yours anymore, and just plan for your retirement accordingly through your own funding. Some countries have some very good plans that families give their estate or sell their estate and move in with their kids and get an in-law apartment and come get some home services. And some people, it's not like that. I just feel like the reverse mortgage is not really an ideal plan. The clients might have the reverse mortgage, use all the money up, and then go to long-term care, and there's just no money for the family, and they lost an opportunity for maybe some higher tiered places that they could have lived, like assisted living with memory care units. So talk about everything ahead of time, and sometimes you just need to talk about it with different people several times to warm up to the concept. And through this planning at early stage, I'd also say, write down some things about what are your routines. What do you do on a daily basis? Do you like showers? Do you like baths? What's your favorite food? What calms you down? Let's fill a shoebox with some of your favorite things. Make a photo album with pictures of your family members and your history. If you go to mindstart.com, mind-start.com, on the website they have This Is Your Life memory book, and that's a good activity that the family can participate in together, sharing family tree information, sharing stories, recipes. As the client goes to the next stages of dementia, he'll tell these stories back, and they're familiar, they're calming, they're reassuring, and these are good quality times that families can have together, is talking about the past and reminiscing. Another book is called My Past Is Now My Future by Lanny Butler. He's an occupational therapist, and he works for Cross Country like me. He's been around much longer than I have, and he's a really cool, quirky guy if you ever get to take any of his classes. But in a very simple way, he talks about Rysberg's global deterioration and how to plan for each stage of cognitive decline. So hopefully this helps you with some early stage expectations for dementia, and we'll go to our next video 4 on expectations for mid-stage dementia. Hope this helps.